Why, hello, everybody. This is Eric Virathaler of Virathaler Studios back again for the next episode of Sit Down by the Fire. I'm here with my next special guest. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Ilene Sullivan.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. And I also want to thank you for taking time out of your day to be here.
Thanks for having me. This is very special. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Certainly. Of course, anytime. So how about that you tell my audience what is it that you do?
Well, I'm an actress, and I'm here on the East Coast, so I know there's a little bit of a time difference. Um, and I was very flattered that you reached out to me and asked me to be on your show. So this is fun for me, and I always
Oh,
like
yeah.
doing these. So thank you.
Oh, yeah. Certainly. Certainly, of course. But yeah, um, but yeah, it certainly has been an honor, like to get to know you on Facebook and all that.
Thanks. I know you're very kind. You are very kind with your following and
Mhm.
your feedback and so forth, and that's always appreciated as
Oh
an
yeah,
artist. So thank you.
oh yeah, certainly, of course, um, ironic about how we were talking about animals and how we love animals, and I checked out your IMDb, and I actually saw a few movies on there that had to do with animals. Like I saw one's called Caddy Hack, which I gotta admit, the title of that instantly caught my attention.
I think that was the point.
Probably.
Yeah, that was fun. That was fun. Yeah, I do a wide variety of parts, which I enjoy. I'm active in all genres across the board. So I do some comedy, drama, horror movies, anything really. I find myself um, being challenged to do many different kinds of roles, which of course always keeps you on your toes as a performer.
Oh yeah, certainly, and that's something that even I can relate to with my journey because a while ago I actually was in a country music video, which I
Oh,
find really ironic considering that when I was younger I absolutely hated country music,
oh,
and fast forward all these years later and the tables have turned.
oh, how fun! How
Yeah.
fun! Good for you.
Oh yeah, I really certainly appreciate that, and that was a really fun experience considering that I was at the right place at the right time. And then the director offered me to have a bigger role where I had a fight scene. I was like, "Bring on the filthy!"
Oh my gosh, that's great. That's isn't that that's always wonderful when that can come your way, and it is. That's a big thrill when you think you're starting off as, a background or you've got a
Yeah.
small part and then somebody takes notice and says, "Hey, you know what? You. We want you." So, yeah, I can relate to that. That's nice.
And I really do appreciate that. And you also were saying that you can relate to that. So how about that you tell the audience about your experiences with that?
Well, I mean, I've been acting for a long time, many years. I started as a stage actress, really,
Hmm.
as a kid, and through school and so forth. And then I got the opportunity along the way to segue into films. So um, I've been doing films really. I did some stage work last year in an original off Broadway play, but mostly it's film work. And I'm loving it. And I've had an opportunity to meet some really great people and to travel a little bit. I did something out in Las Vegas and something out in Tennessee.
Okay.
So I will travel if the opportunity presents itself.
Right.
Even though I'm sort of based on the East Coast, but yeah, I'll go wherever the work is. So whoever wants me, I'll go.
Exactly. And I mean, knowing that work is, I mean, of course, there can be one area that has a lot of work, like say places in like Los Angeles and even now
Mhm.
Atlanta, Georgia, and even
Right.
places in Texas. But But I mean, a lot of the times though, I mean, it's like it's all over the entire world.
It is, and like you mentioned, yes, I've been finding that Atlanta is a big hub now.
Yep,
Um,
certainly.
some other, it's not just your typical, you know, New York or LA. A lot of states across the United States have been getting in on the film game, and it's great because a lot of, especially indie filmmakers, it really gives people an opportunity to draw from a broad base of talent.
Uh-huh.
And I've been seeing some really, really great things. I know we have a lot of mutual friends on Facebook,
Yep.
and um, and I'm always trying for the next thing, the next role, the next experience. I want to really put myself out there and let people know that I'm good. I'm, so not only will you be getting a talented actress and versatile actress, but I'm very professional, and I take the work seriously. Uh,
Yep.
so you got a good package, if you hire me to be in your projects. So yeah, I'm always trying to, like I said, put myself out there, trying to explore new ventures, meet up with new people. But I also enjoy the fact that I have a group of people that I do work with fairly consistently, that know me and like what I have to offer, and use me time and time again. So that's always really nice.
Oh yeah, certainly, of course. And yeah, and one of the nice things about that is, like, say 100 years ago, it was like a guarantee, like that you had to go to Los Angeles. And
Right.
there are some people who have those resources, but there's some who just can't afford it. And it was a real shame for the longest time that all of these people had like this incredible talent, and it was their dream, like, to get into the industry of filmmaking, but a lot of them just couldn't afford it. And and then from what I've been told, or from what I've observed, ever since 2020 hit, like with COVID,
Yeah.
it actually made it a lot easier for people outside of LA to actually, get noticed. It's because that nowadays you don't have to go to LA just to do all these auditions. Like, it's all online now.
Yeah, a lot of it is. A lot of people do either, a Zoom audition, or you can do self tapes, or you can, they'll send you the bits of the part, and you can just, work on it yourself and then email it back or something. So there's a lot of different ways that you can access um, those things, which you, like you said, makes it um, nicely either affordable,
Yep.
or it gives you a way to promote yourself to a wider variety of people. So you're
Mhm.
not just locked in um, to that, so-called, Hollywood thing. And let me just say, it's not all, like you were saying, it's not always about Hollywood anymore. The indie film industry has just skyrocketed,
Oh,
and
definitely.
you'll find a lot of familiar faces, especially I think in the horror genre. A lot of familiar people are doing indie films. So you look at whatever happens to be popular at the moment, and you'll see a lot of those same sort of celebrities are popping up and are being cast, and that's really cool because not only does your project get them and get perhaps the extra clout it needs to get funding, which is always a paramount issue. Um,
Definitely, yes.
but other people have an opportunity to sometimes be in those films with other types of celebrities. So I think that's really nice too. And everybody, I have found that everybody is so genuinely warm and inviting and professional. Um, I think it's a really nice community, the indie film industry.
Yeah. Oh, oh yeah, certainly so. And I could definitely add to that. I mean, considering that, most of the movies I have done, like, have been independent films. And yeah, like, I just always felt so welcomed on set. And, I always had a really fun time doing it. And also, uh, just to add on to what you said, like, about the rise of independent films, I mean, considering that Terrifier 3 competed against Terrifier 2. Wait, sorry. Terrifier 3 competed against Joker 2. Sorry. Joker 2.
Yeah.
Sorry. And yeah, I mean, Joker 2 had a budget of $200 million. Terrifier 3 had a budget of $2 million. And Terrifier 3 beat Joker 2 at the box office.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what I mean. So anybody who's, thinking that they don't either have a chance, or they're yeah, a little bit leery or something, just go for it.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. Certainly.
and things are posted everywhere nowadays too. There's all kinds of places and sites that you can go to find out about castings.
Yeah.
And I would also say, don't be put off by somebody's description of what they think they're looking for in a character.
Mhm.
I would say, like, apply for just about everything, because you never know when a director, a producer, or whatever is looking at what you've sent. And even though you may not be what they first put out there in their scripts and so forth, it might occur to them to switch it up, or to change a role. Or, I mean, you never know. Give somebody something to think about.
Yeah.
Do a gender bender. Do a an age bending thing. Even though the role says, oh, we want somebody between 20 and 30. If you're between 40 and 50, don't be put off by that. Don't be limited to that, because on camera, maybe you look 20, God love you. Yeah, that's great. But don't, it's like, just try everything, submit for everything. You just never know. And I think that has gotten a lot of fair play too, that I think a lot of people are open to that and receptive to that. And you know what, if they're not, it's like no harm, no foul. You tried.
Yeah, and I actually really do appreciate you saying that. And that honestly gave me a whole new perspective, because a lot of the roles that I would fill out, like who I would apply for, since I'm in my 30s, I was like, oh, it's a role for someone in their 20s. I don't think I would fit for that. And but now that you said that, I feel like if I trimmed my facial hair,
Yeah,
I think that I could.
I think so.
Which and I Yeah, which and I certainly really do appreciate you saying that.
I do. I think it's important not to get bogged down so much, because you never know when just an initial, what starts out as just an initial idea, that somebody has written in their script. You might be the person that just gives the change to that, and like I said, it's worth a shot.
Oh, it is, yeah. And now that I thought about it more, what I actually just remembered, one of the people who played one of the nurses in Halloween 2. Now, just to be clear, the original Halloween 2, and not the one by Rob Zombie. The role originally was meant for like a white person, like when she's African American, and then I believe one of the casting directors was like, "No, it's written for a white person." And then somebody said, "Does that really matter?"
Right. Exactly. Case in point.
Yep. Yep.
Right. Does it really matter? I think I I think it could be especially pertinent to women, because women are often put in those specific characters. No, we want somebody who's 19 because of a certain look, or no, we want, and look, it doesn't always work. It
Yep.
doesn't always work, but or if a role, like you were saying, it doesn't really, if a role says, oh, we want a male, does it really matter? Why couldn't such and such a role be a female? You know, why couldn't, and vice versa? But just obviously viewing it as a female person, I have done that a few times, and it has worked.
Awesome.
So yeah, I was very grateful for that and those opportunities, and for people who were open to seeing a different vision or a different point of view for things. So
Yeah. Oh yeah. Certainly so. And now the other side of that coin is that there are some roles where they genuinely can't be changed. Like say if you're gonna
oh,
if you're gonna do a movie like about Martin Luther King Jr., I mean, obviously you cannot change that race.
right. Like I said, it doesn't always work, and it's not
Yeah,
always applicable. But if it's an original script and it's independent and um, yeah, it's very often it can work, and there's no reason why it couldn't work. Um, Same thing when if their criteria is we're looking for someone with blonde hair, and you don't have blonde hair. Well, that to me is just silly because
you can easily
what
dye.
easily, and what difference does it make? But you can easily have a wig. You can dye your hair if you're up for
Yeah,
doing that. You can. I mean, there are so many physicalities that can be worked with and worked around. So again, just don't be put off by those kinds of things. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, and so so you're in Montana.
Yes.
Yes.
I Yes, I am. But however, though, I actually am currently planning to move out of Montana, though.
I love Montana. So I had mentioned that before, and I just thought that was so ironic. It's like Montana. I love Montana. I try and get there every year because I have friends out there, and I
Oh,
love
nice.
it. Um, and actually, the big project that I'm going to be working on in the spring, called Piglet. One of the writers is also from Montana.
Really?
Yeah. Um,
Well, that's a coincidence.
right. Yeah. Yeah. And he has um, collaborated with another fellow who is in Tennessee. So we have a real crossover of not just talent, but the world is small, so
Yeah.
you know, you never know. But yeah, so that's going to be pretty cool. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, and I believe I might know what individual you're talking about in Montana. Uh, didn't he just do like a short film
Yeah.
like about Piglet?
Pig. It's a prequel to the Piglet that's going to be filming. So Kevin Milliken, is that who?
Yeah,
Yeah.
him,
Yeah. Hi, Kevin.
yeah.
And he's teamed up with August Aguilar. Hi, August.
No.
Who's in Tennessee, and I've worked with August on several films, and we just did a film called The Gifted, which we filmed was filmed both in Tennessee, Philadelphia, and out in Vegas last year, and that starred Ginger Lynn Allen, and I was thrilled to be part of that. If you haven't seen it, it is available to watch. And then so then the guys just did a short called Piglet Rising, which is the prequel, a little bit of a prequel story to the big Piglet movie that's going to be forthcoming.
Okay, cool. Well, that's all really exciting, and
I'm excited.
I can imagine that this probably is a question that's probably asked a lot ever since that Winnie the Pooh horror movie came out. But yeah, so with that short film and that feature length film, does it have any relation? Well, does it have any relation, like say, like to the character, like from the Pooh universe, or what?
Well, I'm going to say the broad answer would be yes. Um, but man, it's a really good script.
I can imagine.
It's a great script, and it's going to have a great cast, and I'm so excited to start filming. I can't wait. And so yes, in the universe, I'm going to say that, like I said, the broad answer to that would be yes.
Okay.
When you're thinking of that and what has gone before.
Oh! Okay. I am so sorry about that.
It's okay.
But yeah, my dog was barking at something. I am so sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. I was just like, what
It
was that?
scared. Oh my gosh! Like my heart stopped.
Oh my gosh. Oh, is she all
But yeah.
right?
Anyways, yeah,
Okay. Well, that's okay.
yeah,
Um,
definitely. So, anyways, we were
anyway, animals, right?
yeah, animals, which is ironic, considering that we were just talking about Piglet, and
Right, right.
that's an animal. So,
So yeah, that's going to be a wild ride. Yeah. And I have another big project also coming up towards the beginning of next year. Um, it's called Human Hibachi 3.
okay.
And that is, um, as you can guess from the title, it's been a trilogy.
Yeah.
And that's writer director Mario Cerrito. Um, and So that's going to be another really interesting um, film to do. And then I'm just, I'm waiting for more, always waiting for more.
Oh yeah, certainly. Of course, reminds me of a saying. Life opens up opportunities for you, and you can either take them or you can be afraid of taking them.
Yeah. And sometimes that's, I've had to overcome some of that and some of those challenges. But so far it's worked out.
Awesome. And yeah, and I mean ultimately, life's just way too short. It's just way too short, like to remain in your comfort zone. And there are so many of us who are unfortunately are just too horrified, like to go out there and take chances in life. It's because we're just so scared. What if it doesn't work out? But
Yeah.
but the other side of that coin is, what if it does?
Right. Yeah. And obviously that is a truism.
Yep.
And it's not always easy, and I can appreciate that and I respect that because, everybody has challenges of various degrees. But try, try.
Exactly. And now they said that about try. The first thing that came to my mind is from, I believe, it's episode 5 or episode 6. It's either from Empire or Return of the Jedi. It's when
Oh,
yeah, it's when Master Yoda said, "Do or do not. There is no try."
yeah. Yeah. Again, easier said than done. I'm not
Yeah,
casting any aspersions on people who are like,
of course, yeah,
having challenges. Listen, we're all doing in our daily lives and trying to
of course.
overcome, everything that's bigger than ourselves is not always easy.
No,
But
it's not.
so I can appreciate that.
Yeah, and yeah, and I mean, yeah, and I mean, I get it. It's not always easy, but yeah, you also have to imagine how will your future self feel about it.
Yeah, good point. Absolutely, good point. Um, and and there's things that people want badly enough. And again, I know that sounds really trite, but um, it, I don't want to spout all these little euphemisms, but sometimes it does get easier. Um, and if you don't get it on the first go around, it's like it's hard, and it's hard to accept that because I think as an actor you can take things very personally,
Yeah,
be like, they don't want me, and they don't, it's me, and what's wrong with me, and why didn't I get it, and why am I not doing such and such a thing, and I've, as I mentioned before, I've tried repeatedly to get myself, immersed in a lot of these things that I've been seeing advertised in different groups online with different independent people and different independent films. And I keep sending out my information, and almost to the point of like begging people. It's like, please cast me. I want to be in your film. You
Mhm.
won't be sorry. And I always very often still get the, yes, we received your material and we don't have anything for you right now, but we're going to keep you in mind for the future. So even if you get those responses, be kind to yourself
Yep.
and say thank you. I appreciate you. And I look forward to working with you in the future, whatever, that might be. But really be kind to yourself, because it's
Oh
so
yeah.
easy in this business to not be kind to each
Yeah.
other and to yourself. So
Oh yeah.
that's first and foremost to me. Is I make sure that I'm just a kind person. I want to be kind to people. I want to appreciate the crew, the craft services, the say thank you. Just be a nice person. Don't be a dick.
Exactly. And it, yeah, and I mean, it goes back to that saying that we've heard throughout our entire lives: treat others the way how you would like to be treated.
Yeah, yeah, and people do remember that, and it's just, I mean, it's just ingrained in me. That's just me. It's just, but it is so easy to lose sight of that sometimes. So take a minute.
Oh, it is, yeah, and I mean, it's one of those things where you really do need to develop pretty thick skin about it, and and I feel like it's one of those things like where the more you confront it, like the more resilient that you will become, and yeah, that's even something that I dealt with in my journey. Much earlier on in my journey, a lot of people were telling me no, and that sucked. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it really sucked having to deal with that. But one of the things that helped me, cope with that is that I heard a saying once. I don't remember who I heard it from or where I heard it from, so I can't tell you the source. But ultimately, uh, what I heard once is that you shouldn't give up because you might be a little bit closer to your goal than you might realize. And then finally, I then finally got somebody to say yes.
Good. I like that. I like that
Yeah,
story.
yeah, yeah. Exactly. And I mean, every no eventually will get you a lot closer to your yes. And yeah, and from what I've heard, a lot of other people in the business also have dealt with the exact same thing.
Yeah, and I'm sure. I mean, you don't hear about that part of it a lot, so that's why I think people aren't as familiar, you know,
Probably,
with
yeah.
with that. Everybody touts their, you know, their fame or fortune, or but it's good to reflect
Yeah.
on just the regular people that are trying, and
Certainly, yeah.
lend a hand. I always, if there's, it's so easy to, let's just use Facebook as an example. It's always, it doesn't cost you anything to do a like and a share. If somebody's putting their stuff out there, it's okay. Maybe it's a casting thing that you're not either interested in or fit for or whatever, but share it, because maybe somebody else could benefit from it.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
Somebody's worked hard to put their work out on YouTube or Prime Video, or I mean, those things are really accessible now, which is nice. Um,
Sure.
Share it. Let people know, where it is. It doesn't cost you anything to do that. It's just,
Yeah,
we're all in it together. We're all trying for the same things. We're all, so just help each other out.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly. And I mean, ultimately, when you help that person out, you really truly never know what it is that they're dealing with. I mean, it could be a financial issue, it could be anything else. And just simply just being nice to somebody, or even just making them laugh, like, well, like if you told them a joke. And I mean, sometimes laughter truly is the best medicine. And even you just doing something as simple as both of those things, it literally could change their entire world.
I just, yeah, like I said, it doesn't, you know, it's no sweat off of anybody to just do that, because the people who are posting, I mean, they're all trying. They're trying to get their they're they're trying to get their work out there. They're trying to get known. They're trying to get, um, they're trying. We're all
Yeah,
trying.
yeah, yeah.
So so yeah, it's that's all.
Yeah, and right, and I mean, of course, if they weren't trying, well, and then, I don't know why that they would invest all of their time into it. So,
Yeah, yeah, right, right.
so yeah, and so out of all the film roles you have done, and yeah, checking your IMDb, you have quite a bit of credits,
Yeah.
yeah, and so that's pretty awesome. So, out of all the film roles you have done, what one would you say was the most fun?
The most fun. Oh
Hmm.
gosh. Well, my role in The Gifted was fun. Um, can I name just one? Um, I did.
Well,
I did a short called Prime Cuts, which I thought was a hoot. Um, and, I mean, the little part in Caddy Hack that was fun. Obviously, that was fun. I've done, like I said, I do have a lot of films to my credit. They're all, gosh, I think, I probably love them all. They're like your kids or whatever. It's
right, yeah,
like,
pretty much, yeah.
because I mean, you take it upon yourself and you invest, at least me, invest so much into thinking up a character and, whether it's a voice, a look, an outfit, or something to make it. Uh, so you're putting this time and energy into it that, they all have to mean something to you, in my
Right, of
opinion.
course.
You know, um, like I said, I'm looking forward to, the new material, and, those will be equally as exciting. Um, so yeah,
Awesome, yeah, and yeah, and you really did, but yeah, and I mean, you really truly did have a very good point about how it's hard to pick one. Like pretty much they are all your babies, and it's really hard to pick.
yeah,
And yeah, and I mean, ultimately, with every film role that I've done, I've always had fun with it. But I'm not gonna lie, if I truly was forced to pick one, I definitely would have to go with my fight scene that I had in that country video because that was just so different from like every other role that I've done,
yeah,
and I never did a fight scene in my entire life, and then everybody was cheering, and yeah,
yeah.
and I had so much fun doing it.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, and then right before that, not a real beer bottle, but a fake one. I had a beer bottle smashed on my head.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, that's a pretty good motivator for somebody to start a fight.
Yeah, those are good.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, if that's not going to be a good motivator, then I don't know what in the world
That's
would.
yeah, that's good. Well, you've had some fun things too. So yeah.
Oh yeah, certainly, yeah, and yeah. So so would you have any like role like what you would just dream of to have?
Oh, a role that I would dream of to have.
Yes, like say if you could play an iconic character, like say I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. That's really hard, because then you're always going to be held up to that, if they were like a real famous person or a real person,
That is fair.
you're always going to be held up to that. Even when I watch, uh, movies and so forth, and they're based on real people and so forth. I mean, you're always going to have a tendency to sort of compare, the real person and did they get
Right.
this, and of course, most of the time, because they're big budget movies with big budget stars, they nail it all the time. So I don't know. Um, eh, you know, I enjoy what I do, um, because you can develop something that's your own.
Yep.
You know, whether it's a short film, whether it's a full length film, um, whether it's a drama, or whether it's a horror movie, it doesn't matter. But it's, you know, you've delved into it, and it's yours, and you've made it yours. Um, so I would probably like that better. I really can't think of anybody, you know, that I would emulate as far as, you know, trying to recreate. I mean, I don't really look like anybody that I could think of that would, you know, be in. Um, I don't. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Got
Well,
got me stumped on that one. I don't know.
okay. And and that's and that's totally fine. It's because it's always okay to say that you don't have all of the answers.
I sure don't.
Neither do I, and no one else does. And yeah, but yeah, and I mean that's totally fine. And if you're gonna play like a very well-known person, like say I don't know the president, I don't want to get into politics, but I mean ultimately I'm just using that as an example. Just imagine all of the pressure that you would feel.
Right, right. That's sort of what I was, you know, getting at too. Is that, you know, I'd be hard pressed to. I mean, some people, like I said, I've seen plenty of movies and they, you know, they really nail it. You know, I don't know, and that's probably a real fine line because you want to honor, you know, the person that you're playing, whether they're alive or dead,
Right.
um, and you want to, you know, you want to keep that. Um, and you know, I've seen actors who have done a bang up job, and you know, you're just left with, wow, that was fantastic. Um, and I think when they, I could be wrong, but I think when those types of movies are being thought of and being drafted, I think a lot of times, especially, well, maybe not, but I think you need to get some sort of permission or something from either the family or the
Probably.
person, you know, themselves, and yeah.
I
So
would imagine so.
I wouldn't want to do a disservice, you know, to somebody. Uh,
Right. Yeah. Certainly. Of course. It's one of those things where you can try as hard as I mean, can try as hard as you want to, but I mean, ultimately trying to pull that off is going to be easier said than done.
mhm.
Lot like when Anthony Hopkins played Alfred Hitchcock in a movie. Like, yeah, like I thought he did a great job. I mean, he didn't capture his voice though, which and I get it. It's easier said than done. To try to copy someone's voice exactly. I mean, there are some people who can do it and some who can't. And I mean, ultimately, actors are people too, and I mean, actors aren't always going to be perfect, but yeah, it's one of those things like where there'll be pros and cons to it. Yeah.
Sure, sure, absolutely, absolutely.
So yeah, and so what would you say is either your favorite movie or favorite movies?
You're killing me.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Oh my gosh. Favorite movies? Well,
In no particular
in
order.
no particular order. Well, anything with Meryl Streep, anything
Okay.
with Judy Dench, anything with Maggie Smith, um, you know, Anthony Hopkins. I mean, um, geez, gee whiz. Hmm. Gosh, I don't even know where to begin.
Wow, and I mean, it certainly sounds like that I have asked you a lot of questions. Like, I've definitely asked you a lot of questions like that have got you to think hard about it.
Yeah, I have questions I don't always have the answers to.
which,
Um,
which, and I mean, it goes back to what I said. It's perfectly okay to not have all of the answers.
because there's just so many.
There is, yeah.
I love movies. I've always loved movies. So um, yeah, there would just be so many, depending upon the mood. I mean,
True,
a,
yeah.
a good dose of Sound of Music, The Wizard of Oz. Classic. I used to love. I still do like um, the old genre of movie musicals. Oklahoma and South Pacific and all this, that whole Metro Golden Mirror, conglomerate of things. I have a collection of them here. Um, yeah, there's just movies. They're wonderful. They span, such an era of time, depending
Oh yeah.
upon, what you're watching, um, classic movies, current movies. Um, it really depends. For the most part, I just love movies.
Oh yeah, and I mean, of course, when it comes to getting into the film business, I mean, you really should truly should do it because you love it from the bottom of your heart.
Hmm. Yeah.
You also said the Wizard of Oz, and what I find so fascinating about that movie, knowing that knowing that that movie's almost 100 years old, and yet people still are talking about it, and that people remember it, and people will still go back and rewatch it, and yeah, knowing that it's almost 100 years old, and that's
That's
crazy.
wild. That is.
Yeah,
Wild.
definitely. And so, with that in mind, because it's almost 100 years old, pretty soon it's going to be going into the public domain.
I just can't. But that's really mind boggling when you're.
It is. I mean, considering a movie that's big, like that's of that caliber is going to be going PD, and it's a little bit it's a little bit complicated though. It's because the original book that it's based off of is already in the public domain, but it's just in the original book the shoes were not red, instead they were like silver.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh,
Oh no.
she just
Oh
tripped
no.
off the cord. Sit down. Sit down. Sit down. Okay, we're back.
Okay, good. Yeah,
We're back. Sit down, baby. Sit down.
but yeah, I find that ironic, considering that I had a moment with my dog, and now
I know.
but yeah, I guess it's a full circle moment, I suppose.
Yeah, honey. Oh my gosh. Sit.
But
Yeah.
yeah, and so I guess with that in mind, knowing that when Winnie the Pooh went into the public domain, they made that into a horror movie, and so I'm really surprised, like by the fact that Wizard of Oz, since that the book that
Ooh.
is in the since that book is PD, I'm really surprised that nobody has tried to turn that into a horror film yet.
That's a really interesting premise. Ooh,
It is.
if anybody out there, that's really, I like that.
I also do.
I like that. Because if I recall, I mean, I read it so many years ago. The book was a little darker,
Probably, yeah.
I think. But I also can't wait for Wicked to come out. So
Oh yeah, and a matter of fact, I think that comes out this month actually.
yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Which is ironic because next year in the summertime, me and my family are going to go to New York, and one of the Broadway shows we're going to go see
Are you?
was actually that.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
That's great. That's exciting.
Oh, it is. Yeah. But yeah, but out of curiosity, have you ever seen the Broadway show?
I have.
Awesome. And what were your thoughts?
Oh, I was blown away. I loved it. I loved it.
Awesome.
Yeah, I it was it's wonderful. It was wonderful. So yeah, I'm glad you're going to go see that because
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Certainly so. And yeah, and I mean, I just feel like that would be like a once in a, it would just be like a once in a lifetime opportunity.
yeah. Well, you'll have to let me know when you get out there if you're going to stay for any length of time. Um,
Yeah, me and my family are gonna be there around late July of 2025, and so yeah, but yeah, I mean,
oh,
it actually will be my very very first time ever even being there. So
wow. Well, I hope you stay for a while because there's so much to do.
there is,
There's so much to
yeah,
do. Um,
there's all these shows, and I mean, there's just so many things
yeah, there's
to
shows
go
and
do.
museums and just, you know, different places. Here, sit, sit.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, I believe New York also has the Museum of Natural History there.
Yeah, they have great art museums. They have, and depending upon what area you're going to concentrate in. If you're
True.
in Manhattan per se, um, like when I go in, I take the train and I just walk. Um, like I'll probably go in next month at some point to see the tree at the Rockefeller Center.
Nice.
I kind of always do that as a thing. Um, but so it's pretty easy, I think, to navigate. And I don't even, I believe it or not, I'm really not that familiar with New York and all of its subsections. Um, but as far as the theater district, I mean, that's easy.
Oh yeah, certainly so. And yeah, I'm really not surprised to hear about how you take the train and just walk because from what I've heard about New York, and pretty soon I'll find out for myself, traffic there is a
It
nightmare.
is a nightmare. I would be so afraid. Plus, I wouldn't even know where I'm going. So it just doesn't even make any sense. Um, but yeah, you're going to have a great time.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
that's a given.
Oh yeah. Certainly so. And yeah, and me and my family are also going to go see The Lion King on Broadway, which I am super super pumped for.
That was really cool too.
Yeah, and from what I've heard like during the Circle of Life, they actually will have some of the animals like actually walking down, like actually like walking down the alleyways of like the crowd and all
Mhm.
that. I'm like, that sounds so so cool.
It's such a these productions are just like they're just larger than life. What they've come up with and what they've done with them, they're just. I mean, it just takes my breath away. It really just. I'm just like, I'm back being like a little kid, just eyes wide open, my mouth wide
Yeah.
open, be like, "Oh my God, look at that! Look at that! Look at that!"
Right. Yeah.
It's a wonderful experience. Oh, you're gonna have such a great time.
Yeah, and and to be honest, I definitely feel very, very confident that I'll have a great time. I mean, considering that The Lion King is honestly is one of my top. Like, if anybody were to ask me what my favorite movie of all time is, it would be a tie between Jaws and The Lion King, and it's ironic because they're two
You-
completely
Yeah,
different movies.
yeah. Well, there you go. All right.
Yeah, and I mean, heck, I love The Lion King so much. I even named my own dog after the main character, which is ironic considering that I named my dog after a pussy cat.
Oh, yes.
And yeah, and I mean, just even seeing online what they did with the costumes, and I mean,
That's what I mean. You're going to be blown away. It's fantastic.
it is, and I just love how it actually was a really smart idea, to make the costumes look like as if like somebody from that culture actually made it.
That's what I'm saying. They came up with because sometimes you wonder, it's like, how are they going to turn that into, a Broadway show? How are they going to do this? How are they going to do that? But
They found a way. All right.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and from what I've heard, uh, now if it turns out that I'm wrong, well then that's fine. But from what I've heard, it's actually is the top, like it actually is the top grossing Broadway show of all time.
Is it really? I don't know, but I mean, I
I'm
wouldn't
not
be
sure.
surprised, but um, it was so great. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I mean, definitely, well, I mean, definitely hearing the positive things you have said about it, definitely makes me a lot more excited to go see it.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, and so, did you see it with like friends or family or what?
Family.
Nice,
Yeah. When it, I guess when it was first came out. So,
awesome.
quite a while ago.
Like I
It's,
believe 97, I believe around there.
that sounds about right. Yeah, that sounds about right. Give or take it, um, but around that time, um, and like I said, I was just, that was wonderful.
Yeah, yeah, and so would you possibly remember what your family said about it?
Oh, we were all just agog over, and it was. Um,
Hi there.
I think we were sitting in the. Oh, hi, baby.
Hi there.
This is Valentine.
Hi there, Valentine.
You're on camera. You're
Hi
famous.
there.
You're famous. Yeah.
Hi there.
I remember sitting in the balcony, and I think we were maybe in the first row when and they have that ledge, and I just remember like sitting on that ledge like this and just being like totally amazed, just amazed.
Yeah,
Um,
and I've actually heard some people say that, I mean, in their own opinion, some have even said that it's even better than the film itself, and that's saying a lot.
yeah, well, it's such a different medium,
Yes, it is.
um, and I mean, yeah, the movie was great and fun and everything, but like I said, seeing that live and seeing how they incorporated all the special effects and all the big costumes, everything was just big and it's seeing live theater like Broadway shows, musicals, whatever. It's such a different visceral effect than my baby
Oh,
than,
cute.
and I'm not saying one over the other, but it's just okay. It's fine.
Oh,
You know,
cute. Cute.
it's just different. I love you. I love
Cute.
you too. Yeah. There's nothing like it.
Yeah, and in my own opinion, you may or may not agree. I think from my own experience, me personally, I feel like theater acting is a lot harder than film acting. It's because of with film acting, you'll have cuts and so on, and therefore if you mess up, you and then can go back and redo it. But with theater acting, you don't have that. And I mean, if you mess up, you just have to act like as if you didn't.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Two very different mediums. Um, and yeah, it is a very for me very stressful,
I can imagine.
very
And
stressful, and it's because you have usually you have so many shows, so you're performing so many times, so there's that aspect too. It's just you know, and I'm not, I haven't done a big musical on Broadway or anything like that, but I
right.
always wonder, when you see a show is in its, 99th year and people are, year after year after year, and so is giving their final performance after blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't know how the hell they do it, however many nights a week, twice on the weekend, whatever, for all that time. I don't think I could do it. I just that it's just so much, and it takes so much. It takes so much out of you.
Oh,
Um,
it does. Yeah. And, and also with theater, I mean, sometimes you'll have those like hidden microphones and whatnot. But
Mhm.
from my personal experience, like from the plays I've done, we didn't have those. And so then therefore you of course want the audience to hear what it is that you're saying, and then you have to really project your voice.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. I mean, when I first started doing stage work, we didn't have mics. We didn't, we weren't mic'd or anything. Um, but and so then segueing into film, there was that little bit of a learning curve where you need to like bring it down,
Yeah.
bring it down. Um, and those are just things that you learn. You learn along the way. You watch people. You learn from other people. Um, but it is, like I said, it's very different, very different. Okay, stop.
Oh, it is, yeah. But at the same time, just me personally, I definitely, I definitely would, I definitely would still encourage people to go do theater still. It's because even though, yeah, they are very separate mediums, but ultimately at the end of the day, is it acting? Yes, it is.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, especially, and there's tons of stuff to do if somebody's interested, I'm sure in their various communities, there's community theaters, the
Yep.
colleges. I just went to see at my local university nearby here. Um, they did a production of Rent, which to me was on par with anything that I could have seen on Broadway. The level of talent was phenomenal. Um, so don't turn your nose up at your college theaters and your community theaters, because there's a plethora of talent there as well. Um, and um, the, I mean, sometimes they don't necessarily do original work, but the work that I've seen and the shows that I have attended are just off the charts.
Awesome, yeah, and I mean, considering that I have seen the film version of Rent. I mean, granted,
Mhm.
it was a while ago in 2017, but yeah, and I mean, I was very impressed like with the songs and everything, and I can only imagine like just how that would be like to see on Broadway. And Rent, that's a show like that you definitely easily could translate like onto Broadway. While with Lion King, they definitely had to get a lot more inventive with it.
Yeah,
While
yeah.
with Rent, Rent is definitely is a lot easier.
Well, yeah, because it's a regular current present day. There's no, um, yeah, in that aspect. But as far as the level of talent, it was a phenomenal production. Um, so yeah, yeah, people should check those things out as well. And if
Oh
you're
yeah.
interested, and audition for those kinds of things, also.
Oh yeah, and I mean, right, and I mean, of course, it kind of goes back to what we were saying about dealing with some of the rejection. I mean, you really just got to keep at it. It's because that like with every single audition that you can go to, I mean, even if you don't get that part, it is an experience like that you can definitely like you and then can get feedback on it, like say, oh, we like this, but but try to work on that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, easier said than done, depending
Of course,
upon your
yeah.
level of um, comfort. I mean, I've been in musicals. Do I consider myself a singer? No. Um, so, would I necessarily? I would no. I would never audition for like the lead in a musical, because that's just not who I am. Um,
Fair, fair,
you
yeah.
know, but but aside from stating the obvious or recognizing the obvious in your talents, um, and that goes back to what we were saying before. Just give it a shot. Now, to me, it is much, and always has been, much harder to audition for theater than for films, because, well, for two reasons. Now, very often, I don't necessarily have to audition or send in an audition for film work, which takes a lot of that pressure off of you.
Yep.
The auditioning process itself, no matter in what genre, is so unnerving and so debilitating sometimes. And I don't know, for me, if not for everybody, but sometimes it doesn't get any easier. People say to me a lot, oh, well, by now, you must. And it's like, yeah, no, that's not necessarily true.
Yeah.
Don't think because I've been at it for, however many years that it's necessarily any easier, because very often that's not the case.
Yeah. And right. And, and I've even heard some people say, "Oh, well, I'm too old for it now." Okay, Tobin Bell, like who is best known like for doing all of the, like for doing Saw and
Yeah.
and all those movies in that series. Tobin Bell, he started acting when he was in his 40s, and then finally, when the original Saw came out, he was in his 60s, and then and then so that right there goes to show that it's not too late.
Right, right. Yeah. And it seems like more roles are opening up or being written for um, a longer lifespan of people,
Yeah.
and characters, that um, which is good. And that goes back to our very first conversation about, being pigeonholed or being,
Yeah. True. Yeah.
seeing casting. It's always like 20-year-olds, 20-year-olds, 20-year-olds,
Yeah.
and depending upon your, who you're looking at, directors and so forth, there's a lot to be said for, writing for an older actor. And by older, I'm just, using that as a real, you know, big span of, I
Right.
don't mean
Yeah.
it in any kind of, um,
Fair.
but yeah, it's, I mean, there's stuff out there, and sometimes it's hard to find, but also I think it could work both ways, because the more people see a person in various films, perhaps that light will go off. It's like, well, you know what? I'm going to write my next script either for so and so, or with an age range, that, oh, look, I just saw all of those people in a film, and I was really impressed with their acting. So the next script that I write, I think I'm going to have in mind, some roles that might include those people.
Yeah.
So you're opening up a door creatively for, the other side of the page too.
Oh yeah. Yep. And yeah, and it's funny you say that because I actually just now remember this with the last movie that I made. So one of the actors who I had originally, I was telling him, okay, so play him like as if you're gonna be like an infomercial guy, like pretty much imagine him being like, what was the name of that really famous infomercial guy, like who died right around the same time Michael, right when Michael Jackson died? I think it was Billy Mays, I believe.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so then I told my actor, play it like him, but ultimately my actor threw me a curveball and he was like, okay, why don't I play it this way with like a foreign accent, being more calm and classy? But I was like, okay, that's not what I had in mind, but yeah, try it. And ultimately, he did it that way. And honestly, I liked his take a lot better than mine. So
There you go. Well, that goes, to say a lot for you to be open um, for that. Shh, shh, shh. There must be
somebody
somebody.
must be at your door.
Somebody's in the hallway. It's okay. It's okay. So do you have anything lined up? I'm going to turn this around on you. Do you,
Okay.
do you have anything lined up that you're going to be working on?
Yes, I actually do. Some of my friends from the 406 boys, definitely go check their channel out. They're going to be doing two horror movies. One's called The X, and the other one's called Will O Whips. I'm going to be doing that. And funny how I mentioned Winnie the Pooh and the Wizard of Oz going public domain. So me and my friend and my friend Ty is one of the people who I started this podcast with. And so shout out to him. Go follow him on his channel, Junebug Films. So him and I got inspired by the Winnie the Pooh horror movie. It's because we saw that that they had a PD property and it was made for such a low budget, but it had such high profits in return. And then light bulbs went right above our heads, and then we said, okay, why don't we take advantage of some public domain properties? So and then we went through the whole list. We almost were going to do a Dr. Dolittle horror movie. That the original book is PD.
Oh my gosh.
But ultimately, we decided, you know what, for a low budget, for all the animal effects, something like that would need a bigger budget. And then we both realized, after having Sarah Karloff on and also in the granddaughter of Bela Lugosi, and then we're like, wait, when do those movies go PD? And both of those, like Frankenstein and like in the original Dracula with Bela, those go PD in 2027.
Oh.
And so and then we thought, hey, let's do Dracula versus the Frankenstein monster.
Okay.
And we actually have the monster cast. He's 7'7".
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
He is perfect, right?
Well, that was a find. Gee.
Oh, definitely, yeah. And it wasn't me who found him. It actually was Ty who found him. And from my understanding, for what I've heard, he's the tallest actor in the entire world. And I'm like, that makes him more perfect.
Wow. Gosh. Well, that sounds exciting.
Certainly, yeah. And yeah, we have a few people in mind who we want to play, the iconic Count, but it's just because it's going to be a sequel to the Lugosi movie, we want to find somebody as close to Bela as possible. I mean, we might have to use a few makeup, like for his nose and whatnot. I mean, we'll try to get it as close as possible.
That's great. That's nice. That's really fun to have something that you're planning on and that you're excited about, and it's like,
oh yeah,
just going through all those initial exciting stages of the pre-planning and what you might have in mind, and so that's good for you guys. That's great.
Oh yeah, and I really do appreciate that. And yeah, I mean, legally we can make the movie, but we just cannot release it legally until 2027.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
that's helpful because at least you don't have to wait to make it. And so that's, I mean, because these days, I mean, I've worked on projects too where you film it and then it's like, it doesn't release for another year or a year and a half. So I guess that's not so uncommon, but at least you get a chance to film it, which is
certainly, yeah. I mean, which definitely is nice to know that. I mean, it's definitely nice to know that we don't have to wait till 2027
right.
just to film it. And but yeah, and I mean, excuse me, what's really nice about that is that knowing that the original Frankenstein book is already PD, but it's just like the iconic look with the flat head and the bolts on his neck.
Oh,
That that soon, actually will go PD, and so then that means that we legally can use that
you
look.
could use that. Yeah.
Finally.
That's that's great. Well, that is exciting. Good for you. I will keep a lookout for that.
Awesome, yeah. And I really truly do appreciate that. And yeah, and I mean just it's just so funny to imagine like that Winnie the Pooh, an iconic character, a innocent, lovable
Right?
character, did a complete 180, being turned into a killer,
Wow.
would open up so many doors
I know.
for me.
It's a whole thing now. It's a whole thing.
It is, yeah. And then, and then after when that film came out, it really got me to think a lot more about the, like about PD. I mean, of course, I already knew what it was beforehand, but then afterwards, I then got the idea, hey, when I'm in college, I'm going to be way, way, way too busy to make videos. So what I did is that like twice a week, I would just put films like that are in the PD like to be played on my channel. And that really helped to explode my channel.
Oh, great.
Oh, it did. Yeah. But yeah. So my advice, if you want to get subs fast on YouTube, put up some movies that are PD, like say a lot of the Sherlock Holmes movies are,
Mhm.
and the original Nosferatu is PD, and yeah, I mean, you would be surprised about what is in the PD.
All right, that's interesting. I will keep those in mind. I love the Nosferatu. I'm not crazy about the colorized version that just came out. I like the original, the black and white was creepy.
Oh yeah, and I mean, knowing that that movie's over 100 years old, and yeah, and I mean, like, wow, and I mean, just like it still gives me the chills.
Right? Yeah, it does.
Yeah, like just knowing that look he had, knowing that he looks. I mean, I get why that they did it. It's because of all of the rats in that movie, but it was just so eerie, like about how he looked like a rat.
It was. I remember when I first saw it, and it was, and I love Dracula is probably my favorite, you horror genre thing, and um, so I'm sure I've seen everything Dracula related, read the book, saw it on Broadway like 6 times with two different famous actors in the lead. Um, I just can't get enough of it. But yeah, but I remember seeing that, and that really creeped me out.
Oh, I can imagine. And
Yeah,
and one of the really cool things about that character is that you really can do a whole lot with that character. Like, knowing that in Dracula Untold, he pretty much became a superhero. And then, and then knowing what they did with Nosferatu, where they really, really, really made him
yeah,
creepy. And then, and then of course, like in the famous Lugosi version, he was more of like the handsome, suave kind of character. And yeah.
yeah, yeah. Taking on all kinds of looks. Um, but yeah, so good. I will make sure that I check out your sites and so forth, and keep
Awesome.
abreast of what you're doing.
Awesome. But yeah, I really truly do appreciate that.
Well, you've been lovely, and this has been really fun. You're a lovely interviewer and made me feel very comfortable.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and yeah, and I certainly definitely would love to have you back on again. And yeah, and I also certainly would love to have you even be a part of my own films.
I would love that. Thank you.
Yeah, and now that you mentioned that you are a big Dracula fan, and knowing that knowing I'm doing Dracula versus Frankenstein, I haven't had time to read the entire script because I've been just so busy. But yeah, I can go through the script and yeah, and yeah, and we can see if we can work something out.
Well, that would be lovely. I would be honored to read it, regardless, of the outcome. I would love to read what you're doing.
Okay,
Um,
cool. Yeah,
and I would love to check back with you. Maybe in the spring after we film the Piglet movie, and let
yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
talk about that, and get people excited about that movie and about the Human Hibachi movie, um, as the next year moves along,
Mm-hmm.
and keep you posted about what I'm doing, and yeah, check in with you.
Awesome. Yeah, and I mean, it's just crazy to imagine that 2024 is almost over now, and I mean, it's been one heck of a year.
It's been a ride.
That it has. That it has.
It's been a ride, Eric. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
like with me doing that commercial, the music video, doing those movies. I mean, meeting some incredible people.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Of course, anytime. Well, anyways, I probably should start to wrap this up now. So, what I always will have my guests do when when I end it. Now, sometimes I will ask them if there's anything that you want to plug, but I mean, you already did, like one of them with like the upcoming Piglet movie. So, what I also will ask my guest, what's some advice that you would give to anybody pursuing the entertainment industry, or what's some life advice that you want to give?
Oh my goodness. I don't think I'm qualified to give life advice. I'm
Okay,
still working on
that's fine.
my own. But I think,
That's
as
okay.
we mentioned before, like that old Nike commercial where they're just do it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's my thing. Y'all just do it.
Okay, yeah. And I mean, it's short, sweet, simple, and it's to the point. And because of all that, it's definitely very, very easy to remember it.
Good.
Okay, awesome. But yeah, I certainly really appreciate that. And yeah, and I'll be sure to have a link like for people to follow you like on your
Thank you.
Instagram. And yeah, and I'll have people check out your IMDb.
That's much appreciated. I really do appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
to everybody out there,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Of course. And I definitely want to thank you like for taking time out of your day.
it's been my pleasure, really. Thanks again for having me.
Oh yeah, certainly, of course. And you all, and yeah, and I mean, just be sure to check her out on all forms of social media, and be sure to check out her upcoming projects and her past projects, of course.
Yeah.
And yeah, and you all stay tuned for the next episode.
Thank you.
Of course. See ya.
Bye.
Hey, bye.